really train humans. Because I would say I spend 90, the first thing I tell people day one is, hey, I'm going to spend about 98% of the time correcting you and about 2% of the time correcting your dog, right? Because I'm like 9 times out of 10 is something we as the humans are doing wrong, or we're not communicating it properly, right? So we have to be able to explain that to the human. And I find a lot of times in dog training, like I would say we're pretty successful in what we do because we're really good at communicating to the human. We're really good at communicating our ways. I know some people, they like to jump into all the different things, right? Like the quadrants, you do talking classical conditioning, operating conditioning, all these things. And they kind of really get down that dog trainer rabbit hole, if you will. Like Travis Lloyd had said before, right? Like he's like, I could nerd out on those things all day. And I could too, right? Like I could get really nitty gritty into the weeds, if you will. But I find a lot of times if you just keep things really simple and simplistic to where the everyday owner can understand it, right? They don't necessarily have to get the how or the why behind it, as long as they understand how to apply it moving forward and get their dog to do what they want them to do. So I try to keep things a lot simpler to where folks kind of understand that. And I find that we have really good success with that, right? I also like to say a lot of times I call an ugly baby or ugly baby ugly and keep things real. Something I learned in the military from one of my chief master sergeants. He said that in a briefing one day, and I was looking kind of confused. And he said, "Airman Dell, why you look so confused?" I was like, "I don't get it, Chief. Call an ugly baby ugly." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Babies aren't cute; they're ugly." And I looked at him, and he was like, "Think about it. When a baby comes out, they're kind of ugly." So people are always like, "Oh, your baby's so cute." He's like, "No, they're not. They're ugly. They got a smashed little face. They're all red. Their head's maybe a cone shape sometimes, whatever." He's like, "Just keep it real and call it like you see it." So I kind of find that doing that in general.
Hey everybody! So I'm Lianne Shinton from Automation Dogs, and I offer a CRM software for dog trainers and also this podcast where we talk to dog trainers about their businesses. And today we have the pleasure of interviewing Bryan Dell from Triple Threat Canine. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you could join us. I'm doing great, but it's a little chilly. We're getting some snow, and I'm not used to snow. I have not been in the snow for a very long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're about to get 2 to 4 inches ourselves tonight here in Ohio. So yeah,
Fun.
tis the season, right?
Yeah, the dogs are kind of enjoying it, I guess. So, yeah, I would love to hear about Triple Threat Canine and maybe just give us a little summary of what that's about, and then we can kind of dive in with more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I'm Brian Dell, so I'm the owner of Triple Threat Canine. I'm a retired United States Air Force kennel master. So I used to run canine units in the military. I was a handler, made it up to a trainer, and then from there I got promoted up to what's called a kennel master position, which is overseeing all things canine. But yeah, we're located just east of Columbus, Ohio, kind of southeast, about 22 miles. We're in Baltimore, Ohio. We service all of Central Ohio and beyond. We get dogs from both in-state and out of state. Yeah, we offer a wide variety of services as well. So we do everything from your basic pet dogs all the way through working dogs. So we do a lot of police canines. We do search and rescue teams. We do service dog work limited, but we do some service dog work primarily for veterans. And then we also run a PSA club as well that's called Banff Canines of Ohio, which is also located here in Baltimore, Ohio.
What was the name of the PSA club?
It's called Banff Canines of Ohio, so it stands for Badass Motherfucking Canines of Ohio.
Okay, because I was like, Banff,
Yeah,
isn't that like in Alberta or something? But Banff.
nope,
Okay,
nope.
so
Yeah,
got
yeah.
it.
The PG version is beautiful and majestic for missiles, but the real meaning is Badass Motherfucking Canines of Ohio.
That's so cool. That's so cool. That's awesome. Now, I met you recently in Columbus, Ohio, at the Professional Canine Development Conference that
Correct.
Sam
Yeah.
Given was putting on, and I was very impressed because you had a team and you guys were so well branded.
hmm Absolutely. So yeah, we there I had with me Emmy Hayes, which is one of my trainers. She works for me direct. She does a lot of our pet dog stuff. She also helps a lot with our search and rescue teams, and she helps with our police teams as well. Emmy's also the director of our breeding program. So we have a puppy program where we breed dogs for working lines, primarily for police, search and rescue. So we actually have a few pups right now that are 6 months old. They're doing fantastic in their training. A lot of videos on our social medias of them coming up and going through the regimen, if you will. But we got a few PDs already looking at them, checking them out now, so it's great. Also had Dave Brink from Brink's Canine. He's located in Somerset, Ohio, so about 30 minutes from me. He's a valuable part of our team as well. So he is a dog trainer himself, retired school teacher, got into the dog training game a little bit later in life. However, that being said, he's 65 years old. He still gets in a bite suit and handles business just as good as everybody else, which is awesome. Him and his dog Barrett were some of the ones you saw there at the conference that did some of the demonstrations we did at the end of the night there on Sunday. Barrett is also an explosive detection dog that works for me as well. We do some contract work as well. So Dave and Barrett are one of our teams. And then I also had a couple other members of our PSA club that were there in attendance as well, from Tactical Tales Canine, a young lady named Kayla. She's a veteran herself. She just recently joined our PSA club and is just kind of getting into the dog training community. So she was there in attendance. Cool thing was that she was already signed up before she joined our PSA club. And then she's like, yeah, I'm going to this event. And I was like, well, that's great. I was like, I'll be there instructing.
That's awesome. And maybe share a little bit about what you were instructing on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was there teaching on tracking and trailing. So again, like I said, I do a lot of search and rescue teams. So I train for one group here in Central Ohio. We train quite a few dog teams that fall under them. So it's called the Central Ohio Rescue and Recovery Canine Unit. So they do everything from human remains detection, live find, area searches, tracking, trailing, you name it. So we do have clients that train under us directly from that team. Typically, anybody that is new to that team, they tend to send them our way or Triple Threat. We get them the proper starts, make sure they have all the foundations laid, and get them ready for their certifications. And then we also have teams. There's multiple teams in Central Ohio. It's kind of tough to list all of them and throughout the state, but we have a lot of folks that come our way for the tracking and trailing piece. When I talked to Sam Givens from Professional Canine, Sam, I had asked him, I said, hey man, what do you guys need help with instructor wise? What topics need covered? He's like, what do you want to teach? And I was like, well, anything that you guys need. I was like, I just don't want to double tap over something, make it kind of redundant there. So he's like, well, you do a lot of tracking and trailing. We could benefit from that. So I was like, yeah, no problem. And that's what I taught on.
That's awesome. And tell me a little bit about the name Triple Threat Canine, because you obviously are into some badass names, and that is a
Yeah.
badass name as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Triple Threat, we kind of went back and forth on it. So me and my wife, we originally back when I first started this. So I've been in business down the private sector since 2014. Again, I'm retired military, but I started this while still on active duty. So kind of to get into how the company actually started, and I'll kind of touch on the name. We started because I was out training with my military working dog teams one day at a warehouse, and I had a meeting I had to go to right thereafter. So I show up to the meeting, and my first sergeant, for those that know military, basically one of my leaders in my unit, after our meeting, he said, hey, Sergeant Dell, you got a second? I was like, yes, sir. So I go over to him. He's like, hey, I need help training a dog at home. Do you know anybody that can help me with that? And I was like, yeah, I think I might know a guy. And he was like, all right, who? And I was like, me. And he's like, well, you know how to train dogs? And I'm like, and again, first sergeants, they're not part of the military police unit, so they don't understand everything when they first get there. And he was one of our new first sergeants. So he's like, you know how to train dogs? And I was like, yeah, just a little bit. Anyways, he had a golden doodle, had some issues. So some behavioral modification stuff was needed, some just basic obedience stuff, pet dog stuff. And so I went over to his house and trained his dog, got it spun up, and he's like, wow, this is incredible. His wife was super thankful. They're like, this is life-changing training, or you just provided us. They're like, we're about to get rid of our dog. And I was like, man, okay, well, I'm glad I could help. And at the time, he was like, you got to charge me something. He was like, because I'm in your chain of command. And I was like, oh, okay. So I gave him a very low number, and he was like, yep, here you go, boom, no problem. Well, next thing I know, my phone rings the next day. It's him. He's like, hey, two of my neighbors just saw my dog walking down the street like a gentleman, and they want to know how we made that happen. So I told them about you. And from there, it just took off. Like I was getting word of mouth, word of mouth reviews, referrals constantly. So that being said, we started the company originally as Bad Canine, which is Bryan and Ashley Dell Canine. So funny enough, my wife used to work for National Canine, which is another dog training school here in Central Ohio. She was a kennel tech primarily. She helped a little bit with some of the training back in the day before me and her even met. And then so I was like, hey, let's start a company. I think we could do something with this. And so we started out as Bad Canine, so Bryan and Ashley Dell. But then I was like, man, Bad Canine just doesn't hit right. I was like, you want a good canine, not a bad canine. So we kind of came up with Triple Threat because we were kind of thinking about different things, when it comes to like my real world experience, my training background, and just my passion for dog training. those three things just kind of hit. So I was like, hey man, that makes us a triple threat within the industry. And that's kind of how we came up with that. So
That's so your wife is Ashley?
yeah,
Does,
Ashley,
does
correct.
she
Yeah.
train as well?
She does, yep. So she does a lot of our board and train stuff. So as you can imagine, I stay really busy with our police teams, our search and rescue teams. We do a lot of behavior modification stuff too. So, but yeah, our board and trains, a lot of our board and trains we do out of our home still. So a lot of people, a lot of our clients really come to us because of that. They don't like their
Yeah.
dog going to a commercial environment or a commercial kennel setting. So that's a big selling point that we have a lot of people come our way for. So, and we tell them, we're like, hey, we let them live with us as family, and it also gives us a firsthand opportunity to be able to train in our home and teach them the behavioral stuff, right? Like no jumping on the counters, right? Stay off the furniture, all the things that most typical pet dog owners want. So it's pretty nice. And so she's been a stay-at-home mom since we've been married. We've been married for 18 years now, and yeah, like I said, she's been training since the start of the company as well. So she handles a lot of the board and trains. Emmy does a lot of the board and trains. I'm very involved with them as well. But again, there's a lot of times I'm away from the home, whether it's, like I said, police dogs, the search and rescue stuff. I'm out doing protection dogs, my PSA club. I still teach as well, so we do some seminars and stuff like that also. So
Yeah, and that's nice too, because then the dogs are learning to listen to multiple trainers,
correct.
and
Yes,
really helps when you transfer that leadership role back to the client that
absolutely.
the dog's seen that picture.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I went to National Canine like 33 years ago.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
yeah,
Yep,
absolutely. So that
yep,
school's been around for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and one thing that stood out to me that I wanted to, was kind of curious about is you have one of your trainers. You said he's 65 now, but he was previously a teacher for
Hmm.
people. And
Yep,
I would think that would be very powerful when most of what you do is train dogs, but there's probably a big part of it where you got to work with the clients, and he would be a huge
absolutely.
asset.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dave, he actually runs his own training company, so he doesn't actually train for me. We definitely do collaborate a lot. So there's been times he sends dogs my way, I send dogs his way. So Dave does a lot of pet stuff with his company, and he definitely helps me out when it comes to some of the law enforcement side and especially in the PSA side. But there's a lot of days I'll call him, hey Dave, hey, you want to come out on our police and service training day, do some work? He's like, yep, I'll be there. So he's all about learning, which is great. He's definitely still a student of the craft, which is awesome. Yeah, he's a school teacher for sure. But like you said, yeah, it's very important to be able to talk to the human and teach the human. I tell people all the time, I'm not a dog trainer. I really train humans. Because I would say I spend 90, the first thing I tell people day one is, hey, I'm going to spend about 98% of the time correcting you and about 2% of the time correcting your dog, right? Because I'm like 9 times out of 10 is something we as the humans are doing wrong or we're not communicating it properly, right? So we have to be able to explain that to the human. And I find a lot of times in dog training, like I would say we're pretty successful in what we do because we're really good at communicating to the human. We're really good at communicating our ways. I know some people they like to jump into all the different things, right? Like the quadrants, you do talking classical conditioning, operating conditioning, all these things, and they kind of really get down that dog trainer rabbit hole, if you will. Like Travis Lloyd had said before, right? Like he's like, I could nerd out on those things all day. And I could too, right? Like I could get really nitty gritty into the weeds, if you will. But I find a lot of times if you just keep things really simple and simplistic to where the everyday owner can understand it, right? They don't necessarily have to get the how or the why behind it as long as they understand how to apply it moving forward and get their dog to do what they want them to do. So I try to keep things a lot simpler to where folks kind of understand that. And I find that we have really good success with that, right? I like to say a lot of times I call an ugly baby or ugly baby ugly and keep things real. Something I learned in the military from one of my chief master sergeants. He said that in a briefing one day, and I was looking kind of confused. And he said, "Airman Dell, why you look so confused?" I was like, "I don't get it, Chief. Call an ugly baby ugly." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Babies aren't cute; they're ugly." And I looked at him, and he was like, "Think about it. When a baby comes out, they're kind of ugly." So people are always like, "Oh, your baby's so cute." He's like, "No, they're not. They're ugly. They got a smashed little face. They're all red. Their head's maybe a cone shape sometimes, whatever." He's like, "Just keep it real and call it like you see it." So I kind of find that doing that in
Mm.
general, in dog training, I'm very blunt and very honest. Like Justin Rigney, who is the keynote speaker at the conference, me and him have the same vocabulary in a lot of ways. Um, And I find sometimes telling the owners how it is and being very upfront with them, a lot of people respect that as well. So the human element is definitely a huge part of dog training. A lot of people think it's about the dog only, and it's definitely not. It's a mix for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think too, it sometimes causes a lot of friction within the family when you've got mom and dad don't agree on what's going on with the dog, and just having a resource like you to help them navigate, almost like a marriage counselor at times,
Oh yeah,
because
yes,
it's like having
yes.
a kid. The dog can cause friction in
Yep.
the family.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, I see that a ton. Um, my wife and her were just having a conversation the other day, and she's like, I don't think people realize how much time that you spend talking to your humans versus actually training the dogs at times. And she said the exact same thing. It's actually funny you said that, but she's like, you're pretty much like a marriage counselor, a guidance counselor. Like, say you're giving them direction, you're giving them feedback. But yeah, and honestly, like I find that I have done some of the best networking I possibly ever could do is by being a dog trainer because I have met people from all walks of life. I have met so many incredible people, so many people from different backgrounds, so many people that have just a diverse portfolio, if you will, of life that I've had the opportunity to now network with, meet, become friends with. A large majority of my clients I stay friends with. I had a lady today, actually, right before I got on this podcast with you. I was down at my shop, which is about 5 minutes down the road. We have an actual commercial storefront. And I was down there working on one of our police dogs and printing on some narcotic odor. And so, anyways, I was in there training. All of a sudden, she pops in. She's like, "Hey, Brian, how you doing?" It's a lady named Marcia. I hadn't seen her in 3.5 years, but she's coming to the grooming salon that we have attached to my facility as well, which is a good friend of mine. A place called Soggy Paws in Baltimore, Ohio. So they do phenomenal work. They've been in the grooming industry now for 30 years. I had them move into the facility with us, so we're
Nice.
kind of dual partnered up there. It's very nice to have that set up. But anyways, Marcia showed up and she's like, "Hey, your boy Cajun's next door getting a bath if you want to go see him." And I was like, "Man, I haven't seen you guys forever, man. It's great." So I went over and said what's up to Cajun while he was in the bathtub with Tracy, the owner of Soggy Paw. So she's like, "Hey, it's your boy." And I was like, "I know, we were just talking about him." But yeah, so yeah. But like I said, yeah, it's definitely the case that, like I said, you had talked about the counseling side of it, right? Like, yeah, I definitely see a lot in the pet world. You know, the dads normally are the ones, not always, but a lot of times the dads are like, "Oh, we don't need dog training. I could do this myself. Like, we don't need to pay this guy, right?" But normally they're the ones in the end that are like, "Yo, dude, you're good at what you do. Like, you changed our whole dynamic here in the house, right?" Because like you said, it brings a lot of stress into the house, especially if like one person's really upset with the dog because the dog's doing this. And a lot of times too, I have to be that guy, the middle ground, right? Me and my staff, we have to be the middle ground in the relationship to say, "Hey, like you guys have to get on the same page." Right. And some trainers don't want to say that to people, but I'll tell them like, look, like if you're letting the dog jump all over you, but we're over here telling them not to, right? Hey, you're letting the dog jump on the couch, or it's leash pulling, right? One person's letting them drag him down the street while the other one's trying to hold him accountable. It's a tough mix. And I explain that to them. I'm like, look, we got to have consistency across the board. You guys got to be on the same page. This is a team effort. And a lot of times people are pretty adapted to that because I do a lot of private in-home stuff. I know some trainers just don't do it. Some people refuse to do it. I have found a lot of success doing private in-home. We stay extremely busy with that with our pet world.
Yeah, I bet sometimes when you're in the home, you can really see some behaviors that the client may not even realize is
Absolutely.
happening, that
Yep.
is contributing to,
Absolutely.
the things that they don't want, that you wouldn't see if you weren't there in the home.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a lot of behavioral stuff, right, that I'll definitely see and I'll address or I'll bring up and they're like, "Man, I never even thought about that." Or a lot of times they're like, "I didn't even know we could fix that, you know?
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, "Wow, I'd love for that to change," right? Like I go into houses, a lot of times and I see baby gates everywhere. And I'm like, "You guys got small children?" "No, that's for the dog." "Oh, well, why?" "Well, we don't want them in this part of the house, or they go in here and they do this." And so then I'm like, "Well, we can fix that." They're like, "Really? We can get rid of these things?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing. Let's do it." So it works out really nice.
Yeah, definitely. Now tell me a little bit about what the process looks like if I'm like a housewife, or I'm home, I call you and I'm like, I've got this stuff going on. Like, what does that starting point look like? Do I talk to you on the phone? Do you evaluate the situation?
Yep. So it varies for sure. So it's funny. When it comes to the name Triple Threat Canine, right? Like you said, it's kind of a more badass name, right? Than like some basic level, dog training name or something. So a lot of times I find that may scare some people away, but a lot of people get drawn in once they kind of find out my background, right? They see I'm a veteran, things like that. They're a veteran-owned company. A lot of people like to support that, which we're definitely appreciative of. Yeah, so a lot of times what happens is I get messages whether it's coming in from the website, Google, Facebook. I'm on all the socials, so we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. So whenever we get contacted, no matter how it is we get contacted, normally the first thing I do is I'm communicating with them. Now, I know you have an awesome program, which I'm definitely going to be setting up to have a consultation with you because I think what you offer is phenomenal through Automation Dogs. And I definitely think I could benefit from that. We kind of spoke about that at the conference, and you took a quick shot at peek at my website and gave me some tips right on the fly there, which was incredible. So I definitely need your help. Long story short, for sure, moving forward as we continue to grow here. But yeah, so I do a lot of that on my own though. So I'm talking to clients daily, right? So I find some people this day and age in 2025, they prefer text, and I'm okay with that, right? Because then I'm able to talk to numerous people at once versus being tied up on a phone call. Now I have some people that are still very old school where they're just like, hey, I hate text. I want to talk. Okay, cool. I set up a telephone consultation with them. And then as far as the actual like a consult, we do them if requested, but I've had people like, hey, don't you need to see my dog first before you're saying you can start with me? And I'm like, I've been doing this for over 20 years
Yeah.
now. I'm like, there's not a whole lot your dog's going to do that I haven't seen. And if it is something I haven't seen, then I'll still work through that and we'll be okay. I'm like, if you want a consult to give you the warm fuzzy, by all means, we can do it. And, I'm like, you can meet me at my shop, and we can go from there. Our board and train clients, when they drop off even, or if they want to see our place before they drop off, we allow them to come out. We're like, it's nothing fancy to look at. It's just our homes, but and a lot of people don't really take us up on it because I just had a border train get dropped off 2 days ago. Chocolate lab named Jax, and I was talking to his mom. I'm like, hey, GPS doesn't always bring you right to me because we live out in the country. We have some property, and anyway, she's like, oh no, I already drove by your house 3 times. I've already scoped you out. You're on my way to work. And I'm like, well, great, awesome. You know where we are. But yes, like I said, though, back to your question, we talk to the clients, we have a discussion with them. I have a set list that kind of automatically goes out to them that says, hey, like, what are your issues? Where are you located? What breed do you have? How old, et cetera? Like, what are your training goals? All right, how can we help you? And so as soon as they reply back to that, I instantly reply with various programs that we offer. So again, we do private in-home stuff. We offer the board and train stuff. We have various length of programs depending on what issues they're experiencing. We also do just individualized behavior modification programs to where if it's like an aggression case or severe reactivity, things like that. We used to do group stuff. We don't do group stuff as much anymore. Me personally, I find that the group sometimes dynamic is just too much for a lot of dogs, and I'm more about quality versus quantity. So I feel a lot of times I'm not able to give the clients as much as I'd like to give them in a group setting. Sure, it can roll in some money pretty quickly, and you can get all the groups together. But I would prefer to work with the clients that want to work that one-on-one. They want to really push their dog to that next level. So that's what we kind of look for. But yeah, like I said, the communication starts with just phone calls, text messages, emails. Our website, we get messaging direct off the website as well. We reply to them, we have that conversation, and normally I would say, honestly, within the first 5 to 10 minutes, I tend to do pretty well in closing the sale with them because I provide them the information they want. I have templates that are ready to fire out the second they say, hey, this is where I am, this is the kind of dog I have, this is what I have going on. Boom. Here's the information on the program. Here's all the information that you could possibly want to know, some frequently asked questions to include pricing right off the get-go, right? And then it kind of puts everything in the ball back in their court, right? Now I have some that are like, hey, it's too much for me, I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So something we are working on is an online school here shortly. So I'm getting ready to shoot the video content for it. We have the online content as far as the criteria and all the schooling created. We just got to get the video footage shot now. So that'll be something available for folks that are like, hey, you're a little too much for me now, but here's another option. It's a little cheaper, kind of a DIY, but you'll still have direct access to me as well through that program. So
Very nice.
yeah. So yeah, so like I said, it's a pretty smooth process though. Like I normally 5, 10 minutes max on the phone, if that. And same thing in text messages. And normally I have people like, hey, yeah, let's do this. This sounds great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. But I make sure in that, in my templates, if you will, that I send out, like it's touching on all the things that I have seen for years, right? That like, hey, these are the things people have issues with, especially with the pet stuff, right? Now, if we're talking police, a little bit different, search and rescue, a little bit different, of course, right? Our working side of things. My PSA club, same thing. I get a lot of interest in that as well. So there's numerous clubs in Central Ohio, um, and there's clubs all over the country and all over the world, honestly, for PSA. But we have a pretty nice group of folks. I have about 21 dogs in my club right now, which
Wow.
makes for very long club days.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Wow.
it's lengthy, but we stay busy with that. We're kind of maxed out right now. So unless somebody's coming in that's got some decoy experience, they're bringing something really good to the table, or the dog's really strong, we're kind of shutting down a little bit on some memberships there. I am thinking about maybe starting a second day during the week for folks that want to get into it, but they're not necessarily at the competitive level yet of hitting the trial field, because we have some teams that are in the various levels and stuff. So I want to make sure I provide them ample time as well.
So it sounds like when someone reaches out, you kind of figure out what they need, if it's PSA, if it's
Mhm.
police,
Yep,
and then if it's a pet dog, you're asking certain questions to help
correct.
to then guide them to some program options that might be a good fit.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And then I always tell folks too, like we're fully customizable, right? I'm like, hey, I have some
Mm,
basic outlines of what a program is, but we can modify that to address your very specific needs. Because as you know, like some people come to us and they'll say, hey, my dog knows how to sit, or they know how to down, or they know how to stay, right? My first response to that typically is, okay, well, if I ask you an accuracy rate, like how proficient are they? And most people are like, oh, like maybe 50% if there's a treat, if there's no distractions, if the sun and stars and the moon are all aligned, right? Like, I'm like, okay, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. So I definitely have that conversation with people as well, like kind of like, hey, and some people are like, hey, my dog's phenomenal. They know all the basics. I want to do some advanced level stuff. Great. Well, then this basic program isn't for you, but we offer some more intermediate to advanced level stuff. One of my best pet dog success stories, I would say, that I really like to tell people about. She was actually at the conference there in Hilliard, for the professional canines trainers conference. A lady named Janet Bennett. She was one of my pet dog clients. So she found me on TikTok. One of the first people that was like, "Hey, I found you on TikTok." So she saw some of our videos. She's a big TikTok person herself. She's got a lot of followers. And anyway, she was like, "Man, this dude looks like he knows what he's doing. He's not too far from me. I want to reach out." And she had had some bad experiences with three trainers prior to me. So she hit me up. She said, "Hey, do you do like pets?" And I was like, "Yeah," because our TikTok is a lot of my law enforcement PSA stuff, right? Um, so I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. We do everything." So she's like, "Okay, great." And so we started training. So she did my basic course and she did really well with that. She did phenomenal. Her dog's name is Douglas. He's a golden retriever. So then Douglas, yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, he's on my TikTok as well. So he's earned his spot in there with all the other working dogs and stuff. So Douglas though did phenomenal during the basic course, like really awesome. Janet was phenomenal. So then Janet's like, hey, and she calls me B. So if you hear me say B, it just stands for Brian, right? So, but she's like, hey B, what's next? And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? You want to do more obedience stuff? And she's like, yeah, I want to push him. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, let's push him. So then we moved into like an intermediate to advanced level program. Boom, he kills that. Does phenomenal. She's like, yo, this is great. I love training my dog. This is so fun. She's like, what's next? And I was like, well, what do you want to do next? So gave her some options, right? So she's had some issues and stuff with some things in life that she was like, hey, I could benefit from having him as a service animal. And I said, yeah, I think you really could. I agree, because me and her had some in-depth conversations. Again, I get to know my clients on a very personal level. I like to communicate and network with people. Um, and I too, I'm a combat vet with combat related PTSD myself. So I was like, I can relate to a lot of different things on some of those levels. So, anyways, she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we did a service dog program. Again, Douglas and her killed it. She's a phenomenal handler. So then she's like, all right, what's next? And I was like, let's try some scent detection stuff, or maybe some tracking just for fun, see what he does. And she said, let's do tracking. I think that'd be cool. And I brought that up to her just because she's a very active lady. She likes to go hiking. She likes to go out in the woods and the wilderness and have fun with her dog. So I was like, hey, maybe we'll play with this and see. Now, again, me, like, he's not going to be my go-to type of dog for a tracking dog, right? But sure enough, we go out and start tracking, and I'm like, wow, he's a freaking beast. Like he's pretty good. I was like, you wanna pursue this a little further? And she's like, yeah, I would love to. Right. So then I started training them pretty hardcore in tracking and trailing. And now she is one of the best on the Central Ohio Rescue and Recovery Canine Unit here in Ohio. She's one of the best on their team. She's nationally certified with numerous organizations. And yeah, they're awesome. We just did a 2.28 urban track through the town of Baltimore that I live in. Chief of police here, we trained some dogs for their department as well. And they see her just bebopping along through town. They already know what's going on. They're like, oh, they're out doing some tracking today. Yeah, she just ran a phenomenal. There's going to be a TikTok video of it soon here, but a phenomenal 2.28 urban mile track. So again, that's just one of my little success stories. Like probably one of my favorite pet stories. I've had a lot of over the years, but that one was stands out to me a little bit just because, again, taking somebody that was just like, hey, I'm defeated. I've had some bad experiences with other trainers. I don't know what to do. I need some help. And now she's phenomenal. And now at this point, she is actively shadowing me and kind of doing a mentorship program under me. She's wanting to actually get into the dog training community herself now. So yeah, so she very much is with us a lot at TTK9.
That is pretty special for a dog trainer to have a client to want to go to that level and to actively be successful. Just such a great thing to hear. I know though that that doesn't happen very often, and that most folks are just happy with, hey, now I can have my dog off leash at the park. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find that to be the case a lot, right? And again, that's where like as trainers, sometimes I find like even when I first started, right, like I'm like, oh, well, I like my dog to be super tight in the heel and be perfect and do all these things, right? I was very picky in my training early on where I'm like, it has to be like this and we got to be like this. Because again, being in the military with our military working dogs and stuff, like we're asking perfection of those dogs day in and day out. Now, obviously, there's no such thing as perfection in dog training either. Like there's always going to be some flaws, always things to work on. The dogs are always going to make mistakes. They're a living, breathing thing, right? So there's that element to it. But I find a lot of times that's something with like young trainers. I try to tell them, I'm like, hey, like your average everyday pet owner doesn't care if they have a dog that has a super flashy heel and they're prancing in a really pretty heel, like a focused heel competition style, right? Like they just want their dog to be able to walk on a leash, not jump on people, don't steal the sandwich off the counter, right? Don't run out the door,
Mm-hmm.
don't bark at the other dogs as you're walking down the street. So again, that's kind of going back to like I said earlier, I try to keep things really simple, right? I listen to my clients' concerns, right? Like so if they're like, hey, I need my dog to do these four things, right? I make sure I'm handing those four things for them right out of the gate, right? Showing them those results, showing them how it is, right? And it tends to work out really well. And then if we have time, right, like I'll be like, hey man, you guys want to see some cool stuff? Like we can put some really flashy stuff into your dog too. And then some people are like, yeah, that'd be great. Some people are like, I'll never use it, so I could care less. And I'm like, that's fair, right? Like I respect it. They're like, I'm super stoked just with what you've been able to do already. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, good, perfect. So I will say I've been in business now coming up on, like I said, almost 12 years now. And I'm in the private sector. And I've literally, I would say 98% of my business is word of mouth, just from my clients. So it's been
Wow.
phenomenal. I've spent $0 on advertising outside of building a website, and that wasn't much. So, but I've never paid for a sponsorship, an ad, nothing on any sort of social media platform of any sort. I've printed some flyers off, so I guess you could say paper and ink maybe, and gas to go out and put some flyers out, but a lot of word of mouth and just kind of just spread like wildfire. So,
Yeah, that says a lot. And the thing that kind of jumped out at me was when you were talking about Jana, I think with Douglas, and she's had some bad experiences, and I'm glad that she persevered and she ended up finding you and had hope that someone could help her. Could you share a little bit about what someone should look for or know to stay away from if they're looking for a dog trainer?
yeah, absolutely. So this could vary widely depending on who you talk to. So my views and beliefs are pretty strong in this capacity, though. So I would say this. I would say there's a huge difference between a dog trainer and a professional dog trainer. And I was kind of saying this at the conference. Even there's a young couple there. They reached out to me. They're actually going to come down and check out our PSA club, but they're new to dog training, like brand new. They're like, we don't know anything. We're just getting into this. We're here to try and learn, which I thought was awesome, right? Because there's people there that had zero experience to people that had 30 plus years in the game. So I thought that was awesome. Sam and his team did a phenomenal job with that. and I'm definitely looking forward to next year. I'll definitely be there again. That being said, though, I had a conversation with them and they said, hey, like we've tried to go to numerous people and numerous people won't even talk to us about becoming a trainer. They don't want to share the knowledge. They don't want to help. They don't want to do these things, which I see a lot. Um, but also when it comes to finding a trainer, right? There was another young lady that was there that had a bad experience with another PSA club. And she was like, hey, like I've had a bad experience. Kayla, the young lady I was talking about that was at the conference as part of my team now, same thing. She had a bad experience at another club. So that's something I see very, very common. And most of my clients, like a lot of them have been to somebody before me, right? Like, and some people have come to me and been like, hey, you're a little more pricey than some of these other places. We're going to go here first. And I say, that's okay. If you have questions, feel free to reach back out later. And then those people end up turning into clients later a lot of times because they'll go to the other places and they're like, hey, we're having issues, or hey, this went bad, or hey, this happened, right? So what I tell people is one, like you got to find out who they are and what they're about. So like obviously there's the internet, right? You can do some research there. Social media is out there, but again, social media is not everything because there's a lot of people that are really good at editing and making things look really flashy, but they don't know how to train a dog, right? Like it's just they look really good, right? They can sell it. Some people are really good salesmen. But I would ask kind of like, hey, what's your background? Like, what's your credentials? Right? Like, how did you first learn how to train dogs? Where did you learn how to train dogs? Right? Because I tell people all the time, dog training is like photography, right? Like all of us have phones with cameras. So now we're photographers. Now we're videographers. Now we're influencers, right? It's the same thing with dog training. I hear so many times, well, how'd you get a dog training? Well, I had a dog. I taught him how to sit once and I got a leash and a bag of Bill Jacks and now I'm a dog trainer. Oh, and I made a Facebook page. I'm official, right? Well, where did you learn though? Like, who mentored you, or like what school did you go to? There's a lot of good schools out there, right? Like, obviously, like I got my start in the Department of Defense. Not everybody's going to go that route, and that's okay. I know everybody has to start somewhere, but what I find a lot in the dog training world is there's a lot of trainers that they're in the game for like less than a year, but they'll talk like they've been in the game for 30 years, right? And they'll sell themselves as such. And then people buy that. They're just like, oh, yeah, that's great, and they go there. And also now there's bad training being done or not great training, and then issues are arising, or there's the issues never get resolved for some of these owners. So I would say, like I said, checking credentials, right? So obviously there's all kinds of different alphabet acronyms out there that people can have next to their name, right? But again, have that conversation with the trainer. Be like, hey, like tell me your style of training. Like how do you do this? How do you do that? Ask for references, right? Like I have tons of people that I can be like, oh, you want to talk to some folks that I train? Here's a list, pick a number, they'll gladly talk to you. They'll tell you everything about me, how I handle business, how I do things, everything. And I think that's important, right? Being able to show your work is another thing that's huge, right? Um, if you look at my social media, there's a lot of times I put music on stuff. It's not because I'm trying to hide anything. It's just I like having some music and it just kind of flows. But
Yeah.
like if one of my clients is like, hey, I want to see your work, I have all those videos unedited, right? I will literally show them raw content of a dog I just started with and what I'm able to do in a very short time. Um, and again, the word of mouth referral, right? Like if, like I said, I think the reference piece is huge. Now, if it's somebody that's new and just getting into training, it's tough because they're not going to have references, right? Because they're just getting started. But I would say I recommend to those trainers to kind of pick a lane and kind of stay in it and get really good at something. And it's something we heard a lot at that conference, right? Justin said it, Sam had mentioned it, like, kind of find what you're good at and kind of roll that way. And then as you get better and you've been in the game longer, then yeah, spread your wings and fly, but find that good mentorship. Like Travis Lloyd, like that dude, me and him have been friends on Facebook and social medias and stuff for a couple of years now. We never met until that conference out in Hilliard. So as soon as I walked up, he's like, "Hey, my man, Brian Dell, what's up?" And we started having that conversation. And now he's been down my way. We've done some training since the conference, like we've done some networking stuff. But the reason I bring Travis up is he's done a phenomenal job getting into the dog industry. He went and sought out some very good mentorship right out of the get go,
Yeah.
right? So, and he's got some really good knowledge because of that. So, but yeah, like I said, asking trainers though, kind of the background, where they got their start, what their theories and their philosophies are, that stuff matters for sure. And just it's tough, right? The market is so saturated. Like we talked at the conference, 200% increase since COVID in dog trainers. It's a lot. It's flooded. So
Yeah.
it's tough to sift through everything, but there's good ones out there for sure. You just got to look.
Yeah. Now, You mentioned Travis, and I know one of his mentors, and he's an amazing trainer, Todd Dunlap. And I think, well, Travis said something that was very powerful to me. I've been training dogs for like 33 years. And when I started with my Malinois, who's now 9, I started in Mondio Ring. And that's when I was like, wow, I'm really getting good at this.
Hmm.
It's been
Yeah.
so many years training dogs. But I felt like when I dove into Mondio Ring, that really opened my eyes to using cues and calming techniques and things that were just new to me so much. And I just would love to hear your perspective, because you sound like you work with a lot of pet dogs, but I think that a lot of amazing learning comes from when we get into the crazy hard stuff like Mondio Ring and other search and rescue, like learning how dogs are scenting and all of that. So maybe share a little bit about how that, not necessary to hire a trainer that has an experience in a sport or in professional like working dogs, but it sure does teach us a lot.
It does, absolutely. And I'd kind of even say like there's people that try to specialize only in the working dog world, right? Because as we know, Mals, they love to work. Dutchies, they love to work, right? You find that high drive working dog, like my 11-year-old daughter can train my Mals and she does phenomenal with them, right? She's amazing. And they listen to her like nobody's business. But at the end of the day, like if you ask me, the working dog world is, and again, I've been to some really good schools. I've been across the country and across the world doing this now, and I have got to do a lot of different things. Due to my canine career, I've been in numerous countries doing presidential support, all kinds of stuff, right? Me and my teams have been on nearly every continent the world has to offer. So I've spread my wings and flown some in this world. That being said, working dogs, if you ask me, it's easy, right? Like they want to work, they
They want to
want to do
work.
it,
Yeah.
they want to do all those things, right? You bust out a ball, you bust out a tree, they're gonna be like, cool, what do you want? You want to cook you a steak, grab a beer, and give you a back massage? I'll do it. All right, cool. Right. Whereas like you take the, the pet that's been shut down or the pet that just has no drive at all, no desire at all to want to do anything, and you make that dog be able to do some things, right? That's the victory for me. So
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, and you'll hear people all the time say it, right? Different trainers across this industry will say that, especially the folks that are in the working dog world. They'll be like, hey, working dog's pretty easy. It's the pets, right? So the pets are what pays the bills at the end of the day. A lot of people too, that's a big misconception I find with young trainers is they get into this and the first thing they want to do is they want to train the police dogs, right? There's no money in police dogs unless you have big contracts and you got locked in with your clients and things like that. Like, yeah, you can make some money. Like I've sold some dogs this year that have paid some good money and stuff like that. But that being said, right, like the pets is where the bread and butter is. And again, I think if you can be a very good pet trainer, then you're going to be a phenomenal working dog trainer, right? And vice versa, right? The working dog world, if that's all they know, go train some pets and you're going to learn some things. You're going to see some things, right? And that's a huge kind of misconception sometimes is people don't think that's the case. And I'm like, dude, like the pets, like you take that Pomeranian or you get that French Bulldog, like we talked about, Justin, right? Everybody sees him and like he made the comment a couple times at the dinner. He's like, I look like I'm going to eat their dog, you know? And I started cracking up laughing. I'm like, that's funny. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's true. You take those dogs. You take something like me, right? My name's Triple Threat Canine to my clients, right? They're like, hey, Triple Threat. I don't get a lot of little dogs because I think my name in itself scares folks away, right? Because they're like, ooh, triple threat, or they could go to Suzanne's dog training down the street, right? Or whatever. That's not a real company, by the way. I just made that up. But so, yeah. So I think that yeah, having that mixture of both worlds is very good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it does make you a better trainer in the sport world. It makes you a better trainer in the, like I said, I'm a PSA guy myself. And I kind of got into PSA because of clients. I was never a sport guy. Never had any ambitions. Like when I retired from the military, never in a million years, if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, hey, are you going to be in sports? No, I had no desire to do it. I was like, I'm going to just train pets. I'm going to do law enforcement. I'm going to do search and rescue. Right. That was my thing. And then I had clients here in Central Ohio reach out and they're like, "Hey man, like we want to get you into this. We want you to be our trainer. We want to start a club, all this stuff." And I was like, well, "I don't know anything about PSA. I don't know anything about Madio. I don't know anything about IGP, right? Like I know of them, but I'm not versed in it." So I started doing some research and I was like, "Oh, well, PSA, man." I was like, that's based off of law enforcement military training, like Jerry Bradshaw, the Godfather of PSA.
Yeah.
He's retired law or ex law enforcement, right? So I'm like, yeah, I was like, this is all stuff we can definitely do. But again, like I said, being versed is a big thing in that capacity. So the pets, sport, working dog, if you can do all of it, that's great. But I would definitely tell like newer trainers, like learn the pet side first. If you can get
Hmm.
really good at the pet side, find a good mentor in the working dog side. If that's where you truly want to get to, then great. Like, and there's a lot of good clubs out there. I mean, the Demondio World, PSA, IGP, you name it. There's a lot of bad clubs too. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat shit because there's a lot of clubs that are nothing but drama, a lot of toxicity, right? Like most of my club that I have, most of the 21 dogs didn't start with me. They started elsewhere and they were looking for a new home, looking for somewhere that they're like, hey, we want to come, we want to have fun, we want to train our dogs. A good friend of mine, a guy named Chris Porter. He's a professional photographer. He runs Cat 5 photography. If you check out any of my social medias, you're going to see we're tagging him like crazy. He's also the one that's going to shoot all the content for my online school. A phenomenal guy. But he made a post the other day about our club that was kind of struck me. I was like, man, this is awesome. He took pictures of our club, and every single member had smiles ear to ear, just having a blast training their dogs at one of our recent club days. We meet every Sunday. And he made a post and he's like, I don't know anything about training dogs, but what I do know is these people love what they do. They're having a blast and they're happy. He's like, if you don't have pictures like this, then you're doing it wrong. Right. And everybody's just super happy. They're having a blast and just enjoying that quality time with their dog while seeing results and getting the job done. So it was huge. So I think I kind of ranted a little bit there, but yeah.
No, that was great information, and that's very true. I mean, boy, you spend 40 hours a week practicing with your dogs to prepare them for a sport. You want to have some fun, so
Absolutely.
that says a
Absolutely.
lot.
Yep.
One of the things that I wanted to kind of share is that I've met some of your team who are wonderful. You guys have a great, brand, and just it was great meeting you all. So if someone comes to you and says, "Well, I want you, Brian, to train my dog because I saw you on the podcast and you
Mm,
sound amazing."
mm,
I already know that you have a great team. And I think we talked about this earlier that, if the dog listens to multiple people on your
yep.
team, that can
Mm,
also help when we transfer the leadership back to the family.
absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe share a little bit on if somebody says, "But I want you, Brian, to train my
Mm,
dog because
yeah.
I know that you have a great team."
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do a lot of times in that case, I ask people, I'll say, hey, like, and I'm a big salesman for my team, for my staff. Like I said, I can't say enough good teams or good things about the folks that I have in my corner, right? And again, like I said, I have within my PSA club, I have 6 different training companies just within my PSA club. So I have a good little network right there in general, right? So like sometimes if it's a situation that they come in and they're like, hey, I really want you, if they truly want me, I'll say that's fine, but you may have to wait a little bit because I may be booked out at times. But that's when I did sell my next in line, right? Which is Emmy Hayes, my right hand woman, if you will. So she's like I said, she's my partner in crime and all this stuff, along with my wife. Like those two. So my wife does a lot of our social media stuff. She's holding it down behind the scenes, doing a lot of board insurance stuff, a lot of the admin stuff. So she holds that down. Emmy, like I said, does a lot of the pet stuff for me too. And she also, like I said, does search and rescue police. But yeah, so like I didn't tell them, I'm like, hey, look, one, we're not crazy huge, right? My staff is not massive per se under the TT Canine umbrella. And the reason for that is I'm very picky on who I let represent me in my company, right? As you know, right, like dog training, you can have somebody come in and they learn the ways, they learn the craft, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And they're off to the next place and they're going to start their own business, start their own thing, do what they do, right? And again, you can sign like non-compete, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like it just happens a lot. So I'd say like I tell people all the time, like Emmy's phenomenal, right? And I try to make sure that I have Emmy like when she talks to her clients, right? Like, hey, have them drop you a review, use your name, right? And I'm like, I want you to get promoted out there. That's why if you look at my social medias, I'll be like, hey, this dog's a trainer Emmy, right? So I'm helping sell her in that state, right? Like, hey, yes, she falls under me. She's also a graduate of my trainer school, right? So like I offer a school for people if they want to learn how to be a dog trainer, they can come to us and they can train under us and they can learn how to be a trainer and then they can go on to start their own business. Emmy she originally was in the vet world for 12 years. So she was a vet tech, and she was doing that for 12 years. And me and her started as a client. She was a client of mine in the protection world. And she was like, she used to work for another company that did some scent detection stuff. So she was a contract working dog handler. And she's like, hey, I wanna get into this world maybe, right? So she trained with us a couple of times, and she's like, I don't think my current boss is on the same levels in a lot of ways. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. So I went out and joined training with them, and I was like, ooh, eh, yeah, maybe you should look some other places, right? And without getting into too much there. So long story short, she's like, well, I'd like to start training dogs. And I said, well, I know a guy. And she's just like, haha, okay. And then we got our next session, and she's like, man, I just love this. This is awesome. I would love to train dogs. And I said, I know a guy. And then she finally, like, light bulb goes off, and then she was like, oh. And I was like, all I ask is, like, you're going to go through my school. You're going to learn how to become a really good trainer. I was like, and if all goes well, I'll offer you employment. Right. So she's like, okay, yeah. And she put in the work. She put in the time. She came and she was grinding, and she did phenomenal for me. So again, this is me selling her. Like, she's a phenomenal trainer. She's done really, really good for me. She's had tons and tons of happy clients, happy dogs, and like I said, I couldn't ask anything more of her. She, like I said, refuses to leave my side when it comes to the company. Like, she could very easily go start her own thing right now, and she knows that. But she loves the TTK9 family. So we call it the TTK9 pack, right? So she definitely is a strong pack member. She definitely sees the big picture. She knows we're growing, we're heading in the right directions. So, like I said, can't preach her enough. She's phenomenal. And like I said, Janet, she's wanting to come on board. Janet's putting in the time right now. Like
Wow.
I told you earlier, quality versus quantity, right? Like, I'm big on that. I would rather train less dogs but push better quality versus
Hmm.
try to just push out tons and tons of dogs because we can. I could definitely grow more. I could, not trying to sound cocky, but it's true. I could grow bigger than what we are right now. I have people in my inbox regularly. Hey, are you hiring? Hey, I used to train for this place. Can I come train for you? Hey, I want to get into training. Can I come train for you? Right? Hey, I want to come shadow this. And all those things are great. But again, like, a lot of times I'm like, well, why are you leaving the other place? Right? Like, and I've had conversations with some people. Some people come out and I'm like, hey, come, let's do a few things together. And just, I'm not seeing what I want to see. Again, I'm crazy picky. So that's why I tell my clients, I'm like, hey, I want Brian, I want you. Well, that's fine. I'm a little booked out, but if you want me, I will definitely make that happen because at the end of the day, you're the customer. I'm going to make sure you get what you want. But again, I tell them, like, I got some phenomenal trainers over here that I can send you to. And even some of the other trainers within my club, like, I can contract out to them even if I'm like, hey, I'm busy, Emmy's busy, but you need it now, like, you
Yeah.
truly need it now. Well, I've got these friends that I would put their name out there to you, right? And again, I'm picky on that. There's not a lot of people. Travis Lloyd, again, giving him a shout out before I even met him. I've sent some clients his way. That's how me and him even met. Is I had some folks up by Cleveland, and they're like, hey, like, I need help with this dog. And I'm like, hey, like, you're a little further away from me. I can do boarding trains with you, but I can't do privates because it's just too much driving for me, But I got a guy that's closer, right? I'm like, check out Travis Lloyd, Ridgeside Ashtabula up there, like, see what they're about, right? I was like, I recommend them. Same thing, like, Eric Stambro, right? He's another guy that's kind of up in the northeastern Ohio area. So same thing, like, I've never met Eric in person, but again, I've seen a lot of his work. I know people that know him, right? He's a pretty well known name in the community. So same thing. I'll be like, hey, like, I'm not close, but this person is, right? So I try to have that network at all times too. But yeah, to kind of say it again, like, to answer your question, I tell people, like, hey, yeah, I get I'm the owner, but I have a phenomenal staff. I'm very picky on who works for me. That's in my templates that I even send out. Like, I have an about us that I send to everybody as soon as they reach out. Boom, right? It tells them kind of my background, who I am, and how we got to be where we are. Boom, here's stuff about Emmy, right? Boom. My wife, we don't put that in there as much, but again, anybody that does a board train with us, I'm like, hey, like, she's gonna be doing a lot of hands-on. But people like that because, like you said, they're getting training with me, so they have the
Hmm.
male figure. They also get it from a female side, so the dog's learning that, right? And
Yeah.
even, like I said, even my kids get involved with some of our board and train stuff because, again,
That's
people's big thing
cool.
they love about that is they're like, yo, my dog listens to your kids, they're going to help them listen to my kids then, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I get kids involved in training in the private in-home. That's why I sell people on all the time. I'm like, look, if you got kids at home, like, they can start to put some structure to the dog themselves by doing training. And what's going to happen is the dog's not going to look at them as a litter mate anymore, but more of an authoritative figure, right? And then like some of these kids really take off with the training too. It's awesome to see. I had a Mal not too long ago. They bought it not knowing what they were getting, right? And before the husband said he did some research, and they got the dog. And anyways, the 6-year-old girl, she used to be scared to even leave her bedroom when the puppy was running through the house because the puppy just run after her, chase her, bite her, all this stuff. The mom literally was like in tears after our first session. She's like, I can't believe how much you just showed us in the first night, right? But literally the second week, I come back and the little girl's like, watch me, and is literally doing come, sit, down, place, stay with the dog. Right. And again, that sounds crazy for week 2, but I move very fast in a lot of things I do too. I'm not a believer in it's a 37,000 step process to teach a come or a sit or luring or none of that stuff. We start very fast. We're doing a lot of luring, but using commands right out of the get go. We're shaping behavior very fast. It's just the way that I tend to work and the way that we train.
I like it. Yeah. Excellent. Well, we're almost to the top of an hour. Is there anything else that you would like to share today?
So a couple of things that are coming up for us moving forward here. Like I said, we are looking at growing and expanding for sure. So we're definitely getting more into the contractor side for the canine world. So we have explosive detection dogs, narcotic detection dogs. We have some contract with different school districts. So we're doing vape detection. So that's something newer that's popping up more and more within the schools. They're having a lot of issues with that. So we got that going. Like I said, we do have a handlers trainer school, or sorry, a trainer school that is available if folks are trying to get into the dog training world. So if anybody has questions on that, feel free to reach out to me. Be more than happy to discuss that with you. We are an OPATA, which is Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy, handler school and vendor as well. So for police canine teams, anybody out there that's watching this, if you guys are looking for a place for a handler's course, we got some departments that would be more than happy to tell you about what we do and how we do it. We just had another department come to us this last week that they're on dog number 3 from their current vendor that they went through, and there's course number 2, and they showed up out to our training day the other day, and a lot of issues still there. And Handler was pretty blown away by some of the stuff we did in day 1. He's just like, wow. He's like, why did we not come through you guys sooner? And I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, that's up to your bosses, right? But yeah, so we're available for police dogs, pets, search and rescue. Really, we don't do a lot of hunting dog stuff. Do help some gunfire stuff and things like that, but like I don't go down that lane too much. And like I said, service dog stuff's limited from our end. But like I said, if anybody has questions, I'm always available for conversation. I love talking dog training. I can talk all day when it comes to this stuff, so I'm very passionate about it. We do have a project coming up, so about 5 minutes from my house where I'm currently sitting in my home office here. We have my shop and the Soggy Paws Grooming Salon, which is a good friend of mine. She has her salon connected to us in the building there, and then 5 minutes from that property, we have 18 acres that we're in process right now of getting all the zoning stuff done. But we're going to be building a larger sports training complex. We're going to have a fully turfed out facility. We're going to have some indoor dock diving, outdoor dock diving. We're going to have some trial fields that are going to be turfed out, lighted, you name it. So we're looking forward to growing that place as well. So we'll save the name for a later date, but yeah, when it comes out, you guys will know.
That sounds super fun. And then you mentioned you were working on some online courses, which sounds great.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So I have the website. It's not live yet. If you go to it right now, it's just going to punch you right over to the Triple Threats main site. But it is going to be called ttk9online.com. So the plan is to have some basic obedience stuff for the everyday pet owner, right? Just, the everyday stuff to come sit down, stay, place, a little bit of basic heel work, some leash walking, stuff like that. Behavior modification stuff. There's going to be some e-collar courses on there. So we're going to have that. And then we're going to start getting in more in-depth stuff as well. So we're going to, because I've been seeing more of a request for even like PSA for videos on that, like how do you teach different behaviors, right? And there's some stuff out there on Patreon that some people are already doing and stuff, which is awesome. So the JSOD is a PSA club. Did actually got my PSA level 1s down at their club, and phenomenal club. Like I really enjoyed training down there and doing some work. But they have some good stuff on the Patreon, so it's a little shout out to them. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna have some stuff too coming about how I shape different behaviors. Again, I have some people that are like, man, you push dogs pretty quick, right? One of the police dogs I just sold to a local PD, the breeder was like, man, you had her ready to go at a year and a half. She's doing all these things, and she's like, I don't even start that like start anything until the dog's two. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, for me, I was like, I think that's missing some developmental stages. I like to push dogs quick, and I like to not quick, but like I like to shape behaviors early and often, right? And like just get them going. And if they have it in them, they have it in them, right? But yeah, so like I said, it's kind of where we're at. But the online school, yeah, it's gonna be TTK9 online. It'll have everything from pets, working dogs, some trainer courses as well, right? Just for those folks that just want some online content, they want a webinar, some DIY stuff, right? If that's more their flavor.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of point out for folks too that your list of offerings is amazing and sounds very formal and just like great for someone interested in that. But one thing that stood out to me was when you were talking about Janet with Douglas,
Mhm.
and you helped her with her dog, and then she kind of got into it. And when you said she's an active lady and search and rescue the dog, he did amazing. Like that just seemed so real but powerful, because
Yeah,
we look at it like, well, I don't know what to really get involved in. I don't know what's right for me. But like that story was very powerful.
yeah,
Just a natural progression that is like
yeah,
she found the perfect fit
yeah.
within all of these wonderful offerings.
Yeah, and I find honestly, I find that a lot within my clientele base, right? Like, so she's not the only one that's kind of been similar in that case. She's just one example, but I have a lot of people. Like, I have people now that are like, hey, you're doing contract work. I would love to get in some scent work and maybe get into that, become a handler under your company, or they're like, hey, I want to get into the dock diving or whatever. And again, we have people that kind of have some backgrounds in that too within our club. So like I help point people in the right directions, right? Because a lot of people that get into the training, right? I take pride in them having fun doing it and seeing results, right? So if you ever look at my socials, you'll see there's hashtags, and a majority of the hashtags at the very beginning, right, are things clients have said, like mind-blowing training, life-changing training, like all these different things, right? So I just take things that people have said to me, and I'm like, man, that's good, right? I'm going to use that as a little hashtag, just kind of put out there some stuff my clients have said. There's some things from our reviews, but I definitely take pride in the fact that most people, when they're done training, they're like, dude, I had a blast. Like, this is fun. I want to do more.
Yeah.
What's options, right? And then I tell them, I'm like, hey, like, we can go this route, or we can go to this route. Or, I didn't do like barn hunting, right? But like, that's a thing. Like, there's a place not far from me here. So if somebody's like, oh, I just want to do something fun with my dog, you're like, hey, my dog might not do anything but something else. Well, dock diving, right? You throw a toy, let him jump in the pool, have a good time.
Yeah.
I know there's more to it than that for the folks that are really serious and compete. Some of my clients have gone out and just done that for fun. They're like, man, it was a blast. Just let my dog jump in some water and go get a toy. So, but yeah, we try to find things that suit everybody and let them have fun with their dogs because that's what it's all about is training your dog and having a blast and being happy and your dog being happy and you having that just phenomenal relationship with each other. That's what it's all about.
Outstanding. And then maybe just share how folks can find you. I can see if the website URL there in the background, but if someone's
Yeah.
just listening versus watching, maybe just share
Yeah,
how folks can find you.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so we're Triple Threat Canine. So our website is www.triplethreat and then K-9. So again, you have to get the K-9 in there .com. Again, it's letter K-9, just like you'd see on the side of a police cruiser. Our Facebook, we are our Triple Threat Canine or on Facebook, just Triple Threat Canine. You'll find us there. Same thing on Instagram. We're just at Triple Threat Canine, and same thing on TikTok. So, and then Google, same thing. If you Google Triple Threat Canine, Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio, anywhere like that, you're going to find us pretty quickly. And then our socials are all linked there as well. So, and then, yeah, and then we're via email as well. The email is just triple threat, letter K, number 9 at gmail.com.
Excellent. And I saw a contact form on your website too. So if
Correct.
folks go to your
Yep.
website, triple threat
Absolutely.
K-9.com, they'll be able to get a hold of you. Perfect.
Correct, absolutely. Yep. And on that contact form, there's options you can select as far as like what you're looking for. If it's pet stuff, if you're looking for a seminar, if you're looking for search and rescue, whatever it is that you're looking for, PSA, we can
Yeah,
help with it all.
in-home behavior mod,
Yep, absolutely.
yeah, protection
Yep,
training, detection
yep,
training.
yep,
Awesome.
yep. So yeah, we do all kinds of stuff with the detection world too. I actually just got the phone right before we got on this podcast. A lady just requested us for narcotics detection sweep of her house. So that's some of the basic stuff we do. But like I said, we do all kinds of stuff. We're getting more into the contracting world.
Very cool.
Yeah, lets me get back to my roots, which is the working dog side. And detection's a blast, protection's a blast. I love the working stuff, but I love the pet stuff just as more, or just as much, because like I said, being able to help that everyday pet owner with their dog, that's a victory in my book.
Yeah, and that sounds like kind of where this all started with that
Yep,
golden doodle
yep,
that you helped.
yeah,
So, yeah,
absolutely. Yep. I still talk to those folks to this day too. So yeah, it's worked out good. Like I said, large majority of my clients, they become friends and
that's
lifelong parts of the
cool.
TT Canine pack. So it's awesome.
The TTK9 pack. I love it.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brian. I really
Absolutely. Thank
appreciated
you.
your time today. Thanks for
Likewise.
sharing. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, we were talking with Bryan Dell from Triple Threat Canine, and I am Lianne Shinton from Automation Dogs.